Wow, wow, wow. Terrance Howard. After that interview on Joe Rogan Experience, he really got my mind blown. I never thought that anybody would think like me. I mean, the math do not be mathing. Maybe I need to reevaluate everything I've ever thought and everything I've ever read. After reading 20,000 books, maybe 1,000 of them are wrong and led me astray. I don't even know if this book is even telling me the truth. I'm going to have to go to Terrance Howard's website and reevaluate everything. Maybe study everything he studied or everything he's putting out. Is this book even real? I don't know. But I'm going to have to go ahead and do some more research because my mind is blown. I never thought 0 times anything equals 0. That makes no sense at all. Who would make that up? Who would think of that? Multiplication is supposed to be multiplication. 1 times 1 cannot equal 1. I don't know. Maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what's real and what's not. Thanks, Terrance Howard. You really opened me up.
Some of us are still in crazy awe over what Terrance just positioned on the Joe Rogan podcast. In my experiences with Terrance, the first thing he ever told me, and he was actually wearing the sweatshirt that he wore on the show, was the 1 times 1 equaling 2. And I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time until I got a little bit further down the road. And what I want to do is break this down for you and how it applies to your everyday life. So it's less about the multiplication, and it's more about the fact that everything comes from one source. So if we understand the power of one and everything coming from one source, then what does that mean? That everything divides out of it. So the illusion is the multiplication. The illusion is that we're creating something from something that's less limited, like we have the ability to expand things out. The reality of it is that there's a single entity that is the architect that has divided out all aspects of things. Now, what's most interesting about it is there is a supersymmetry of all existence. So that means that there's a reflective force in the world that's a reflection of yourself. And that reflective force that's a reflection of yourself, we can call those twin flames, whatever you want it to be. When you come together in masculine and feminine, and it doesn't mean hetero or homo, but it means with your mate, with your partner, with the other one in life, then you start to connect and then combine back into the aspect of oneness. And then when you do that in community, it does the same thing. That's why communities feel so good. You do that as a planet, you do the same thing. So for us to be able to take the 1 times 1 equaling 2 and reverse that back into understanding that there's a whole that's being divided out into the entities of ourselves, and that we are all perspectives of supersymmetry from the unification of God, then what we do from there is we say, okay, how do we combine in unity and harmony with those that are around me so that I see all as love? So the purpose of it is to see all as love, to be able to understand that you're part of the whole, to be able to look at the entire whole and understand your position in it, and then honor it from the position of the architect, God, source, all, and then know that you are just a piece of it, but that you are observing it and it's observing you, and then that connection creates the unity that we've been looking for in humanity.
Creep on in, on in, on in.
you're skeptical about what Terrance Howard said about the flower of life, or maybe just confused about what he was talking about, let's demystify this a little bit. All right, the flower of life is the interaction of spheres when they come together. When you do this enough, it creates this shape referred to as the flower of life. But we are in 3D, so let's explain this in 3D. Going 3 spheres out, we create the fruit of life, or Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube creates the platonic solids. These all nest within each other, and the ancients referred to them as the states of matter. The most interesting of which is the dodecahedron. I made a video about this yesterday, and I made a full video about this shape on YouTube. You can go check that out. It covers it extensively. We start with the tetrahedron because it is the easiest way to divide a sphere. When you create tetrahedrons out of the flower of life, it creates this. This creates gaps where the female tetrahedra fits in perfectly, creating this. This is the simplest way to triangulate any point within space and time. It's also burned into the wall in the Osirian temple in Egypt. Ancient Egyptians were well aware of this, using the shape to accurately measure the circumference of the Earth and its proportion to the moon, which Da Vinci encoded in the Vitruvian Man. The shape maps the relation between spheres at any scale. It is scale invariant. And if you're wondering how that turns into a cube, it is all perspective. How you rotate this shape dictates what you see. That is why it's a perfect tool to teach philosophy too. It is encoded in the Hebrew tree of life and the Sri Yantra in the Hindu and Buddhist traditions. Flower of life can also be used with the lotus of life to describe how energy works. My buddy Sean here made a really cool graphic on how if you add the negative polarity to the seed of life, you transform it into the lotus of life. The lotus of life is a representation of how energy comes together within reality. The interaction of light and dark, positive and negative, creates shape. On a white piece of paper, you need a pencil to create shadows. Shadows create the shape. That simple interaction creates the geometry of everything. Masculine, feminine, positive, negative, electricity, magnetism. Electricity and magnetism is the only reason that you can see me on your screen right now. Merging the positive and negative creates a harmonious balance like we see in these steel balls suspended in a magnetic field. The proximity of these spheres is how we observe matter. Very tightly packed carbon creates a crystal, diamond. Now when Terrance was talking about the tetryon, it is the negative space between those spheres. Your perspective on all of this depends entirely on how you're looking at it. And I want to personally thank Terrance because I spent 4 months writing a book on all of this called Geometrics. Pretty much everything I said in here is in that book. My entire mission with BaseForge is to show you where this stuff came from, how it works, who used it, and how you can use it for your life. If you tried purchasing in the past couple days, my bad, I messed the website up. I'm leaving the sale up for one more day.
My people, what you're seeing is Terrance Howard's working model of his virtual reality patent, live in action, made over 9 years ago, because this is when he posted it in 2015. Said that there's enough energy in here, 1.21 gigawatts, to be able to time travel back to 1955. Now in this clip, we have another one of Terrance Howard's inventions, which he calls the linchpin, as you can see right above me. Now this has a propulsion system that doesn't give off any heat or sound. Doesn't that sound familiar? Kind of like the UFOs that they describe of today. And it can even change directions and flip over without losing speed and disappear in the snap of a finger. Now as you can see, someone called Terrance Howard's inventions futuristic, but I'm a firm believer that there's nothing new under the sun, and anything you can think of has already been done. It's just that we are now remembering. Enter the new age, baby. New sun. We getting all of our information back. Shout out to my ancestors, because I know ancient technology when I see it.
18 decimals. When that comes into the scientists' hands, we're going to create new systems like time travel and amazing systems that propel us into a new era. So on that note, I just want to conclude that Terrance's work is allowing us to have discussions where metaphysics connects with physics. We want to have this discussion about physics versus metaphysics, biology versus technology, and how they can work hand in hand rather than be opposing templates of consciousness.
And then talk to us about your larger vision with Educare and your students.
So,
and also add in, you think that, did you mention you think that Terrance would endorse your pie?
Yeah. That's,
so start there and end with the Educare and your bigger vision.
So if I'm hoping that if Terrance is watching this, I would like to know his view upon what I call the true value of pi. I call it golden pi, just like we have golden circle, golden spiral, golden rectangle. Well, this is the subject on golden pi, 3.144, and because it's all based on the what we call the golden ratio, which is all about the DNA molecule. DNA is all based on the harmonics of 1.618. If this is true, we need to set up a new education system. This is my connection with Terrance. Let's set up new educational models where the next generation truly understand what education is. It comes from the Latin word educare, which means to shine forth. It's about connecting with the child's inner glow, what their passion is, and get children to start turning numbers into art, where we draw the pentacle within the pentacle. So when we do 4 iterations of the pentagram within the pentagram, we get what's called the golden, we get the angle for the fine structure constant. It's called 137 degrees. That's what scientists are obsessed about. So if you talk to any nuclear physicists, they say that the ratio between electricity and magnetism is 137 times the difference between the forces, the nuclear forces. So they're obsessed about this number 137. Well, it's in that diagram of the nesting pentagram. Perhaps another controversial reason why Terrance Howard's work is being debated all around the world right now. And it's great that it's so popular, even whether it's fully correct or not. We're having the conversation, and he's saying radical things like there's no such things as the God force particle, the Higgs boson and gluons and dark matter. We've got a wrong concept of the creation of the nuclear quantum level. And he even says that black holes aren't really perfectly described, because the current view of a black hole is that it's like this giant vacuum cleaner in the sky where everything's being sucked into a dense point, but where does it go? So how can something just forever be sucked in? Like if that's a black hole, a torus, like an apple, is a black hole, right? It's going in and in, but science just stops there, that it just becomes this dense, heavy matter. But where does it go? It has to go somewhere. Well, on the other side, you've got radiation. So Terrance's view, which fits in with the hyperdimensional geometry of the torus, is that you can't just have in. You've got to have the male, female, straight lines, curved lines philosophy of the universe. So this means that the creator must also be a male, female. You just can't have suction going in all the time. It's a limited view. So what started off science, as you know, was the Big Bang Theory. So this is the Big Bang, that the sun, the supernova, big explosion, and the Earth and the sun are forever radiating out. But that's such a limited view of Big Bang, because all it's saying is, where's the loop? Where's the return to wholeness? Where's the torus? So what I love about Terrance's work is that it's bringing us back to this concept of like torus within the torus, the nesting tori create the infinite macro and the micro. And the macro and the micro define what we call electricity and magnetism. And in that kind of conversation he says, well, we got gravity all wrong. So that's why there's this huge discussion going on. Is there gravity? Is there black hole? Is there straight lines? What's happening is that we're starting to question what we've been told. And that's what I love about his work, and we acknowledge it on that level.